On the last day of our vacation in Iceland, we went on a tour that words could simply describe as magical.
Very magical, and it's a favorite of many local people here in Iceland.
The tour, lasting around 11 or so hours, was an astonishingly beautiful route along the difficult for English speakers to pronounce Snæfellsnes Peninsula and Snæfellsjökull National Park, home to the mighty mountain that's so huge that it can be seen clearly from Reykjavik.
So we will see a lot of birds there. We will go to see the cave, but before this tunnel was done, that goes here under the ocean, it was only possible to drive the fjord. But we don't have an Icelandic army here. We just have the Salvation Army. Egill Skallagrímsson was a notorious Viking and one of the first settlers. We have Viking sagas here in Iceland, many that we learn here, and one of them is Egil Saga, which is the story about this Viking. And they were also making some iron blend here. The Icelandic is Old Norwegian.
Our first stop was in a very interesting scenic location. The bus parked by a series of large basaltic rocks shaped like hexagonal columns formed by volcanoes. I took the pleasure of running up the slope to get up close to these ancient, thousands of years old natural structures. You can only really get a sense of how big these rocks were when you see me standing right up with them.
Now that's a good picture with someone walking up there, so you can get the size.
How
big they are, yeah.
There he is.
The view up there was incredible. There was another thing I noticed, though, how seemingly amazing Iceland's landscape can be. One moment while scanning the horizon, you can see the large looming mountains. Then look a little further and you'll see a glacier. And then a stretch of flat land that could pass for the Australian outback, if the landscape was dry enough. We drove on. It was after the first stop that we were actually starting to drive along the peninsula.
This is a very obvious one, but this is how our mountains are formed.
A short while later, we stopped at a nice rest area with a cafe where we enjoyed some warm morning coffee and hot chocolate. The southern coast and the tip of the Snæfellsnes Peninsula is perhaps the most magical part of Iceland. One of its beautiful features is that it has several beaches. Despite nearly being face-on with the northern Arctic seas, which one might expect to be fierce and merciless, the feeling I got was one of ease, calmness, and relaxation. Like the beaches, Iceland is pretty calm in the sense of its beauty, but also in its crime. Iceland has one of the lowest crime and murder rates in the world, but our bus did pass by the house where the only known serial killer in Iceland lived.
In the 16th century lived a man here called Bjorn. And he is the only known serial killer here in Iceland.
Anyways, we were approaching our next stop, which was a walk on a trail by the cliffs, another natural feature of this peninsula. The rocky path winded by the staggering sea cliffs where northern birds and I enjoyed the view of the vastness of the cold northern Atlantic Ocean. These sea cliffs were near the national park, at the western end of the peninsula and the island, so I was basically at the western limits of Scandinavia and Europe, where almost 1,000 miles of water separated myself from Greenland. Personally, I thought that this was the most beautiful experience from the entire vacation. Now our tour carried on, as we passed around and made some stops by the magical mountain whose presence supposedly gives off magical energy, and is also, according to Jules Verne's book, Journey to the Center of the Earth, the direct entrance to Earth's center. Somewhere within the lava fields of volcanic rock which stretch far out from this mountain was a haven of grasses and unusual rocky lava structures. Also in these same lava fields there are many scattered underground caves, which were formed by flowing lava thousands of years ago. Here we went inside an 8,000-year-old lava tube, with the help of an experienced guide, flashlights, and helmets.
And the red and brown color in this lava is because it's rich of iron. It carries a lot of iron. Then above this lava here, we got this gray and white lava. This lava is gray and white color because it's rich of calcium. It's a quite long time. Stanio! How are you?
I'm good.
Okay, the Greenland group come down from the staircase.
As the bus rounded about the end of the peninsula, the landscape only got better. It rained a small amount, which gave the ground and grass a fresh, saturated look, and created the mysterious distant clouds of fog, and supplied the waterfalls of fresh, crisp mountain water which plunged down the steep slopes of the giant walls of green grass and volcanic rock on our right. A lot of footage was filmed here on the northern coast, and with each minute my jaws dropped further as I could not believe just simply how magical this part of the island could be. You know it's a beautiful country when you can make a documentary out of footage from inside a tour bus, because the land was really that beautiful. We took a short stop to admire probably one of the more photographed mountains in this area. That's because it has such a dramatic shape, and it's also by beautiful surrounding backdrops. In this part of Iceland, and I guess anywhere outside of Reykjavik really, goats in small towns are common. Over 2/3 of the people live in Reykjavik, and the rest of the space is populated with farms, homemade golf courses. Trust me, golf is pretty popular there. Small communities of several hundred like this one, and a lot of goats. The final stop was sort of an unexpected surprise. It was a hidden-away waterfall that faced away from the road, looking towards what seemed like a long expanse of lava field and mountains. This waterfall here was even more icing on the cake to an already substance-filled treat of an adventure. Nowhere near as boasting and mighty as the featured waterfall of the Golden Circle Tour, or as picturesque as some on the southern Iceland coast, or as high as the ones just by the road falling from the fjord-like mountains. But this one was quiet, elegant, and is rewarding to find when you've just spent a day exercising your eyes and pushing your imagination's limits on a tour that redefines the definition of natural beauty. We were approaching Reykjavik as we were concluding our trip, but our Icelandic guide wanted to say one more thing.
The Americans stayed in Iceland for many years. They left here in 2004.
As Americans, it was a surprise to hear our guide describing how there used to be an American military presence here. She said it was a good thing they came, though, because life before then was not easy, as she describes that most Icelanders were poor and had bad housing.
A very, very good thing for us that the Americans came to Iceland and helped us with this. They're paid jobs and able to live a lot better than they had been. Because before that, people were really struggling here to survive.
It was amazing to hear that our country had an influence on this island, and today its infrastructure is successful and tourism for the beautiful nature of this island is booming. If you're looking for a new place to travel, then visit Iceland. It will bring eye-opening experiences that you will remember forever, as it did for us.